The year is 1940. You were living in France during the German occupation. Anxiety hangs over you as each day passes. You're just waiting for your name to end up on a desk somewhere requesting for you to be arrested. Getting out of France is your only chance of survival, and there are whispers in your circle saying it can be done. They say there is a man called Dr. Eugène who has been helping people in your position flee to South America. The man can be trusted. He's provided medical certificates for those drafted into labor and treated others who have returned from it, but escape comes at a price. Fleeing France will cost you 25,000 francs, but what's money worth? If you're taken by the Germans, you finally get the money together. You organize a meeting with Dr. Eugène and he assures you it's possible. Eugène tells you he has helped over 20 people flee France and you feel the knot in your stomach loosen not entirely. But for a short time, the sense of hope alleviates the pressure. You thank Dr. Eugène and ask what must be done next. He tells you South American officials require a 2-week incubation for diseases before allowing you to pass their borders, leading you down into his basement. He prepares a needle and draws a clear liquid into the syringe, all the while assuring you it's part of the incubation process. You allow him to inject you with the liquid. Within moments, you start to feel weak. Each breath feels more difficult. There's a pain in your chest as it tightens, and suddenly everything goes dark. You have found yourself one of potentially 27 victims murdered by Marcel Petiot under the alias Dr. Eugène. If you are one of his early victims, your body might drift to the bottom of the Seine River, but it's most likely Marcel has hacked your limbs into smaller pieces and either incinerated them in a coal stove or submerged them in a quick lime pit. Today, we are going to delve into the life and crimes of Marcel Petiot, better known as Dr. Satan. Marcel was born January 1897 in Eugène, France in his youth. Marcel reportedly had several run-ins with police at the age of 11. It is said he stole his father's gun and fired it in his classroom before making a proposition to a female classmate to have sex with him as a teenager. Marcel robbed a postbox and was charged with theft and damage to public property. He was then ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, and the charges were subsequently dropped upon being diagnosed with mental illness. Moving on to his adult life, Marcel volunteered for the French Army during World War I and during service in January 1916, during the Second Battle of Amiens. Marcel was wounded, gassed, and showed signs that he was having a breakdown after being sent home to a number of rest homes. Marcel once again found himself in trouble and was arrested for stealing army blankets, morphine, and other items such as wallets, photographs, and letters this time. Mesa was jailed and spent time in a psychiatric hospital in Orleans. Once again, he was diagnosed with mental illness. This was not enough to stop him from being sent back to the front lines in June 1918. However, this only lasted 3 weeks before he was transferred for allegedly injuring his own foot with a grenade. Eventually, a new diagnosis saw him eligible for discharge from the French Army with a disability pension. When the war ended, Marcel entered an accelerated education program provided to war veterans and received a medical degree in December 1921. By this time, Marcel was addicted to narcotics and gaining a reputation for supplying narcotics, performing illegal abortions, and petty theft. In 1926, Marcel came under suspicion for the murder of Louise de la Vue. Louise was the daughter of an elderly patient with whom Muscle was having an affair. It was reported by neighbors that they had seen Marcel load a trunk into his car around the same time as Louise's suspected disappearance in the same year. Marcel was elected mayor of Villeneuve-sur-John after embezzling funds and subsequently resigning. In 1931, 5 weeks later, Marcel was elected councillor of the Aisne department, only to be accused by the village council of using his position to steal electricity. Marcel ended up resigning and moving to Paris, where he gained patients with fake credentials and built a credible reputation for his practice. In the same time as he gained patients, rumors started to spread of illegal abortions and overprescription of addictive remedies during the German occupation of France in 1940. Marcel began providing false medical certificates for those drafted into forced labor by Germany, as well as treating those who returned from the YAO. Labor in 1942, Marcel was convicted of overprescribing narcotics even though the 2 addicts asked to testify against him had disappeared. Muscle's conviction resulted in a fine of 2,400 francs. Around this time, Marcel assumed the code name Dr. Eugène, designing a false escape route for those attempting to flee German occupation by pretending to have a way for people to leave through a passage into South America. Marcel had a long line of resistance fighters, Jewish people and others willing to pay $25,000 to escape. And we already know what would happen to those who would pay Marcel to flee the country. Marcel continued his murders, and on March 11, 1944, his neighbors complained to police about a foul smell and large amounts of smoke coming from his chimney police, and firemen surrounded the home, only to find a fire burning in a cold stove in the basement. On further inspection, they found human remains in the fire and throughout Marcel's basement and Mussel's backyard. More human remains were discovered in a quick lime pit. It is reported there were enough body parts to account for at least 10 victims, though his property was scattered with clothing suitcases and other items belonging to his victims. Marcel evaded capture for 7 months, hiding with friends and claiming the Gestapo wanted him for killing German soldiers and informers. Eventually, he would adopt the alias Henri Valéry and join the French forces of the interior as a captain of counter-espionage and prisoner interrogations under his new alias Marcel. Became one of the members tasked with searching for himself on the 31st of October 1944. Marcel's luck ran out. He was recognized at the Paris metro station and arrested. Among his possessions were a pistol, 31,700 francs, and 50 sets of identity documents. Prosecutors charged Marcel Petiot with 27 murders for profit, estimating his monetary gains at 200 million francs during his lengthy trial. Marcel admitted to killing only 19 of the 27 victims identified on his property. Marcel was ultimately convicted of 26 counts and sentenced to death by guillotine. Marcel Petiot was beheaded on the 25th of May 1946, and that was the end of Marcel Petiot. He was a lot of things. He was a mayor. He was a war veteran. He was a doctor. But he was also someone that preyed on the vulnerable, using their hope as bait for monetary gain. It seems like everything he did in his life was motivated by monetary gain. And that's what I feel is most interesting about the case with Marcel Petiot. Many serial killers have different motivations, and there are ones that are motivated by monetary gain. But Marcel had suspected 60 murder cases, only 19 of the 27 he was convicted of to do all that under German occupation, with an alias escape route, all the while knowing that you're just going to take this person's life and the money they've given you. It couldn't have just been in my mind, at least about the money. He must have got some sense of sex satisfaction from it. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it as much as you can about a story about a guy murdering people as they try to flee Nazis. One of the most unenjoyable things you could. But thank you so much. And if you did enjoy it, please think about liking and subscribing. Thank you.